council meeting, and I am going to ask Councilor Harrison to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we had the consent agenda, and I believe there was one item pulled, but that no longer needs to be pulled.
Right. Thank you so much. No, I'm not going to pull F1 now. We had this amazing follow-up to questions that we had over the weekend for the agenda items, and I just wanted to, first of all, thank how quick it was to get those responses, so thank you guys so much. I think as we move forward and we streamline how these questions get answered, we got this at 11:05, so I had already submitted for that to be pulled. So if there's any way how we can all work together to get those answers prior to 11 o'clock so I don't keep pulling stuff that doesn't need to, then I'd be really interested to do that. But no, I do not need to pull anything. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Jones.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion on the consent agenda? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Right, so unanimous. And then we go to the report and recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Good afternoon. My name is Walter, Planning and Development. I am joined as usual by the Planning Commission Chair, Blaney Miller. We have a handful of items to walk through with you today. In advance of that, a preview of upcoming holidays that you might want to be aware of. My review of this did not find any conflicts with future scheduled meeting dates. And we currently don't have anything scheduled for public hearing at this time. What we are recommending today is 4 items for a public hearing on March 4th. That's a month from today at the evening meeting. And I will just note that the first item there is E1224 Old Cruise Road and Milburnie Road. It's a very large assemblage. It includes a concurrent annexation. You will see that on your consent agenda next week with a recommended, or at the next meeting, excuse me, with a recommended date to match whatever action you take today so that those will show up on the agenda together, whether you go with March 4 or a different day. So that first request, C1224 Old Cruise Road and Old Milburnie, this is a very large request, and it ties right smack dab in the middle of the conversation you had at your retreat about annexation and peripheral development. And so our plan is to bring forward to you a little bit of a different presentation on this one, so you have some context that ties into those issues you were discussing at the retreat, just to help you inform your decision, right? Recognizing that we need to help you with more information than we've been providing previously. So again, recommending, and this is outside the ETJ, it is adjacent to Rivertown and eligible for annexation because of and therefore zoning because of an adjacency to a city-owned property that is not in our corporate limits. Planning Commission recommended approval by a split vote. Again, recommending that March 4 public hearing, and we would bring the annexation at the same time. The second item, Z3224, this is a request for change to conditions for a property up in the Triangle Town area. The commercial entitlements, the conditions are really what's changing here. So this is but the applicant has advised me they would like to defer setting the public hearing to your next meeting. So not the March 4 date that we published in the agenda. This item on Litchford Road is a request for just under 3 acres to go from residential 1, which requires about 40,000 square feet per unit historically, to R10 with conditions. This is consistent with the future land use map, and Planning Commission recommends approval. And then we have an item on Chapanoke Road. This is going from industrial mixed use to a commercial mixed use district with TOD and some increase in height as well and some conditions. This is inconsistent with the future land use map, but consistent with the plan overall as well as the urban form, particularly the urban form map. And Planning Commission recommends approval. This is a property that is planned for affordable housing with some public support from the county. So again, recommending a March 4 public hearing date. What questions can I answer for you before you take action to set public hearings?
Go ahead.
The dates look fine for the 3 cases, Old Cruise, Litchford, and Chapanoke to me, unless there's other thoughts from the table. And then would just ask that the Sumner Boulevard case be brought back as a special item, so revisions can be made, and we'll set the hearing at our next meeting.
Right, so I'll second that motion.
Cool.
Any other discussion or questions for Ms. Walter? Yep.
Thank you so much. It's not, my question isn't necessarily related to these zoning cases, but for having Blaney right here, in the next term, I see that there's a lot of turnover that's going to be happening over the next few months in Planning Commission, and you don't need to answer it right now, but I'd really love to hear from you about what you, I think there's 3 or 4 that's coming up. What are we needing on that board? You know, we don't have a liaison directly to the Planning Commission, so I'd really love to understand what expertise, you know, is it environmental, is it affordable housing, you know, what do we need to be looking for as we look for new placements on that board? So I just charge you with letting us know, and so that we are well informed as we begin to replace those.
Thank you. That's a great question. I got a heads up that we might be receiving that question, so I've actually reached out to some folks at the Planning Commission, and I believe we asked that question at the table as well to get some feedback. I can tell you big picture what's worked really well. I'm coming into my 6th and final year myself, is that we did have a diverse portfolio of different backgrounds, and as time went on, we learned to really trust each other, that this person would have an opinion from this perspective and the other, and we could kind of just go around and let each person add and improve on the case. And we didn't always agree, and we thought that that was healthy and good, and split votes are important, and we could just have a good outcome in that way. So that being said, to your point, we have 3 or 4 coming up imminently, and we might have at least half of the Planning Commission turnover this year or within the next 12 months. So with some of the backgrounds that are coming off the commission, I'd say the first thing that we'd want to look at for new commissioners is confirming their time availability and capacity. That needs to be a very threshold level of really thorough understanding from them about what's going to be required, because it is, as you know, immense in terms of board and commission work. The next, we continue to hear experience in housing and development in general at all income levels and housing types, understanding housing affordability and attainability, to make sure there's a sufficient market apply at diverse income levels and housing types. So when it comes to developers, both traditional large developers or micro developers have worked well in the past in the Planning Commission. Realtors would be great, and also those in real estate finance to offer those different perspectives. With a common thread being that we are really looking for someone who can help communicate complex development issues to the public at large. So any of those professionals that have to interact with the general public on a regular basis would be very helpful. And then other specific expertise, someone with experience in architecture would be very beneficial to the commission. That we have had a few of those. We've been so lucky to have those, especially when it comes to text changes. We can largely defer to their expertise on, I can, as an attorney, I can sort of big picture text changes, but when it comes down to any specific numbers on how far back something is supposed to be as we're writing the new text changes for the UDO, we always defer to the architects there. And we do have at least one rolling off, and perhaps the second within the next year as well. And then finally, I am the only attorney on the Planning Commission, and my term is up this year also. So I believe there was one before me, and he was helpful to making sure that that hole is also plugged.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other discussion or questions for the presenters? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks. Sure.
Okay, next we have the report and recommendation of the city manager.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Just one item today under the manager's report, and it is an update of the Raleigh e-bike rebate program. We have staff here from Raleigh Department of Transportation, Mason Chambly, here to present this item.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, Council. Mason Chambly, Transportation Transit, and I'm here today to talk about the history of the e-bike rebate program and then opportunities for some potential additional funding that we have for it. So I kind of go through, discuss the history of the program, where we are now, kind of the status of it, and then the potential funding. So first, before we get into the program, I just want to level set to what an e-bike is. It's a relatively new industry. A lot of terms are changing, and so these are some of the common ones, just in case folks get asked questions or these terms come up. The first one is Class 1, and these will all denote the types of e-bikes. So Class 1 meaning pedal assist function, which turns off when the bike reaches 20 miles an hour. So the motor kicks off, and it can only exceed 20 miles an hour by human force. Class 2 is similar, except you can have purely throttled mode up to 20 miles an hour. So that means someone doesn't necessarily have to pedal it, but they can throttle it up to that limit. But if they want to go faster, they'll need to pedal. And then finally, Class 3 is pedal assist only, similar to Class 1, but that motor turns off at 28 miles an hour. And if to go faster, you'll need to pedal it yourself. Additionally, some of the other terms you may come across is cargo-style e-bikes. And those simply just mean ones that have the ability to carry a larger load, 50, 60 pounds on top of the rider, or can be used as a family vehicle to carry children or carry groceries to and from. Additionally, kind of the price range of the e-bikes, that's an important issue when we're handing out rebates. The budget models can range from a couple $100s, several $100s, from online retailers all the way up to several $1,000s for high-end cargo bikes. When we're looking at what local retailers are selling for those entry models in person in the stores, we're looking at about a $1,200 to $1,300 range, and that's for a Class 1 e-bike. And then the pictures below there just kind of have images of what a cargo bike looks like, and it's a very varied type of category. So getting into the program itself, this was started with an initial $150,000 plus contract expenses for program administration. So that allowed us to issue 75 income qualified vouchers and then 75 standard vouchers. And that program was provided through the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant through the Department of Energy at the federal level. That was a one-time non-renewable formula grant. So we were awarded that on a one-time basis. We weren't able to renew that, and so kind of led us today to seeking new funds. And a little bit more what our vouchers are. So we have two types, and each have kind of a different goal. So the first one is the income qualified. That's valued at $1,500. It's eligible to permanent City of Raleigh residents who have a household income at or below 80% of the area median income, and then 18 years or older. For a household of one, that 80% AMI comes out to about $68,000 a year, and then it goes up as just additional household members are added. And then standard vouchers are valued at $500. Those are just eligible to any permanent Raleigh resident who is 18 years or older. The one caveat that I will mention with these is that valuation and that funds can be used towards the direct cost of the bike, but it cannot be used to pay sales tax. And we communicated this with potential applicants and those who received it. So at the time of application, folks are made aware of it, and then when they received it, if they received one, they were made aware of it again. And our bike shops that are participating were also made aware of that to make sure they weren't inadvertently putting sales tax towards the voucher funds. But as an attempt to kind of overcome that limitation, if someone was to, say, with a $1,500 voucher, got one of the $1,200 models, there's an extra $300 evaluation left over. To make sure people were maxing out that money, they could put the additional amount towards safety equipment or security items, so thinking of a helmet or a bike lock or tools to repair it, kind of anything they would need to safely and securely operate that vehicle. But the sales tax requirement does still require or apply on those items as well. So far to date, all of the vouchers were released as of January 13th. We'll release them in 3 staggered batches, 50 vouchers per release. Those were December 4th, December 31st, and then January 13th. Recipients are notified 3 times by their preferred communication method, either email or text. They're given the initial notice when they're awarded the voucher, a 30-day reminder that they have 30 days left to redeem it, and then a 10-day reminder when they have 10 days left to redeem it. And as of February 3rd, we have a total of 65 vouchers that have been utilized, 52 in the income qualified grouping, and then 13 in the standard grouping. A little bit more about the unutilized vouchers, since we still have quite a few out there. Initially, voucher recipients had 60 days from the date of award to utilize a voucher. If they did not by that expiration date, it would be considered forfeited by the program standards. Then our third-party technology vendor will randomly select new recipients from the current pool of qualified applicants, and that clock will start over with the intent being tried to give out all of the money as possible, get as many bikes into the hands of residents as possible. Because of some of the slower uptake on this, we've extended the deadline for batch 1 by 30 days from February 2nd, which was this past Sunday, up to March 4th. And then batches 2 and 3, those deadlines will also be extended by 30 days. And so existing and new recipients have 90 calendar days now to utilize those vouchers. And then if they don't, it'll continue the same process. We'll draw new ones and continue on. So that leads me to an opportunity we received, and this is through the Bloomberg American Sustainability Cities Grant. In November 2024, the Office of Sustainability, in collaboration with our department, were awarded $80,000 in funding for the e-bike rebate program. And this is non-federal funding. I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that. So this non-federal funding, it's private funding, and then all money from this will be allocated towards additional vouchers in the applicant pool. We estimate roughly 60 to 80 additional vouchers will be awarded with the funds, kind of at the end of the day. And that leads me to kind of the final slide here, and this is just seeking council recommended action. And that's to authorize the city manager to execute all required grant documentation, to authorize a budget amendment in the amount of $80,000 to appropriate the grant funds. Now, I'm happy to take questions because I know I went through a lot in a relatively short period of time.
Yep. Questions for Mr. Chambly? Counselor Patton.
Yeah, this is great to see, and I had wondered how many vouchers had actually been redeemed and traded in, used on a bike, how many bikes were in the world. So I was grateful you answered that question. I'm curious if you have further information on a couple things. One, for people who have not redeemed their voucher or didn't redeem their voucher in their time, do we have feedback on why they did not?
So we don't have feedback yet. We are intending at the full end, once all deadlines have hit, to put out a survey for folks who both have redeemed it to get their use behaviors and to folks who didn't redeem it to figure out why. I can add briefly that I reached out to some peer cities earlier. This is kind of in line with the first round of programs. So Tampa had a 54% redemption rate on their first go-round. And then Columbus, Ohio had a 65% redemption rate on their first go-round, which puts us roughly in that same category. And so we're in talks with those to kind of take from their lessons as well as what folks tell us in our program on how to improve.
And do you have any feedback on, or any initial musings on how people are using these bikes? For instance, are they accessing them for recreation or transportation? Are they getting cargo bikes or other types, et cetera?
So for the first part of the question, we don't have any data yet on how people are using them. That'll be part of our 3 to 6 month follow-up. On the types of bikes people are using, we are collecting that data. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm happy to share with you the class 1, 2, 3 types of redemptions.
Okay.
Counselor Jones.
With the 60 to 80 new bikes that we'll be able to, would that be another application process, or are we just going to go to the people who weren't awarded and go through that list that are on the wait list?
So it'll be the people who are already applied in that pool, just continue the pilot program, and we initially had about 1,300 qualified applicants.
Wow.
So we have quite a big pool to draw from.
Thank you.
Yep, Counselor.
Are we tracking the demographics from, where they fall within AMI, where in the city they may live, other information, so that we can ensure that we are diversifying the pool of recipients?
Yes, so we are tracking all of those categories. I don't have the full breakdown here, but we'd be happy to share both for applicants in general and then who received them, their data.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Lambert Melton.
I just had one follow-up, and then I was going to make a motion to accept. 2 things. It's my recollection that when we approved the initial pilot, that part of the consideration for folks receiving the vouchers is they were going to return data to the city about how they're using them, to help us, I think, make some infrastructure improvements and sort of detect trends. So that will be coming to us soon.
Yes.
In the next few months. And then anecdotally, I had office hours this past Saturday, and someone who came to my office hours actually has just utilized an e-bike voucher, and she told me that morning she had gone to get groceries and was able to take her e-bike to do that, when previously she would have done it by her car because it wasn't safe. And so that's one person and one confirmed fewer car trip that I can bring to the council table. And thank you for going out and finding some additional funds. It sounds like we still have a great deal of need, and so let's keep working to find additional funding sources. But with that, I would move to accept the grant documentation and authorize the budget amendment.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. And in the mode of efficiency, that's all I have today.
All right. I guess we should say thank you to the Bloomberg Philanthropies for
Absolutely.
that generous grant. Okay, so next we have the report and recommendation of the Raleigh Arts Commission.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having us. I have two speakers to introduce to you today, Mary Silver, the Chair of the Raleigh Arts Commission, and Angela Lombardi, the Chair of the Public Art and Design Board. You ready?
Good afternoon, Mayor Cowell and council members. My name is Mary Silver, and I am both an arts educator and a practicing artist. I am privileged to serve as the chair of the Raleigh Arts Commission and to support its mission of fostering a vibrant and inclusive arts community. In collaboration with the Public Art and Design Board, the Arts Commission serves as an advisory body dedicated to advocating for and celebrating the arts throughout the city of Raleigh. Thank you, Mayor Cowell, Councilmember Harrison as our council liaison, and all council members for your continued support and investment in the arts. So, we decided to give you all have our annual report in your packets, I'm sure, but I just thought I would put out a few highlights of what we were able to accomplish with your support this year. Last year, we were able to provide opportunities for hundreds of artists, engage thousands of students in art classes, and provide creative experiences for the community through grants and programs. By the numbers, we've added 16 artworks to the Municipal Art Collection, which now has a total of 703 artworks, issued 29 calls for artists, installed 49 exhibitions, and organized 163 events, provided professional opportunities for 797 artists, and to get really microscopic with you, fired 1,158 kilns to to 104,400 objects from 65,000 pounds of clay at Pullen and Sertoma Art Centers. The Commission is responsible for helping residents create artwork in the community. We also host events to celebrate the creative community, including the Medal of Arts, which all council members and the mayor are invited to attend. We also host events to celebrate the creative community, including 12 Medal of Arts to local artists and arts organizations and creative leaders. Since the award program started in 1984, the Commission has given 177 Raleigh Medal of Arts for transformative, imaginative, and innovative achievements in the local practice of art. We also support local artists by facilitating their involvement in public arts initiatives such as the Streetery Murals Project. Our arts partners. One of the Arts Commission's most important responsibilities is making funding recommendations for nonprofit arts and cultural organizations. Last year, the commission oversaw $2.94 million in annual grant awards and multi-year lease agreements, including $2.4 million in awards to 39 nonprofit arts and cultural organizations. The nonprofit arts and culture industry generated $516 million in annual economic activity in Raleigh. Arts organizations in Raleigh are also the focal point of our community, our cultural voice, and what connects our residents. The Arts Commission is investing resources to ensure these organizations thrive in the future while they face steep increases in rent and venue costs, staff turnover and burnout, ensuring universal access to the arts. CORAC work plan highlights include, and in your packet you have the full work plan to review. We are excited about our goals and strategies with your help that we could accomplish this year. The arts are essential to Raleigh's cultural and economic vitality, and we are committed to ensuring they thrive. Our focus is on 5 key priorities: leadership, advocating for the arts by increasing investments, implementing public art plans, and amplifying artists' voices in city initiatives; belonging, expanding access to advancing equity, diversity, and inclusion in the arts; sustainability, strengthening Raleigh's arts ecosystem; expansion and enhancement; and connection. I look forward to working with you, the Raleigh Arts Commission, and the Public Art and Design Board to ensure that every individual in the city of Raleigh has access to vibrant arts and cultural experiences in the city of Raleigh. Thank you very much for your attention, and I now introduce Angela Lombardi, Chair of the Public Art and Design Board.
Good afternoon. I'm Angela Lombardi, Chair of the Public Art and Design Board, and artist myself. Thank you so much for having us here today. So Public Art and Design Board is always very busy, and this year is no exception, thanks to the investments the city makes in public art. So right now we are managing 24 active Percent for Art projects in various stages of design, fabrication, and installation. We are overseeing design approvals for Raleigh's 6 artist in residence programs. 2 of those are the BRT corridors, Western and Newbern. We have 2 nature preserves where we are hosting artists in residence at those nature preserves with programming and their art making. 2 documentarians in residence, 2, and also a new Dix Parks collaboration with the Conservancy for an artist in residence that has just been chosen. We have an exciting new call that just ended for another artist in residence working directly with the City of Raleigh Sign Shop to create family-friendly and vibrant wayfinding throughout the City of Raleigh using the department's facilities, which is really exciting for us in terms of what the artistic vision is going to be using those materials and resources. So we're very excited about that. So for our highlights, we have a full profile of 24 active Percent for Art capital projects, plus special projects, including more pedestrian safety murals, streeteries, and Seek Raleigh art projects. The board will continue to work with the Arts Commission to implement the Public Art Strategic Plan, to continue to expand community engagement, support local artists through artists in residencies and special projects, managing that portfolio of 24 active Percent for Art projects, and implement public art in the 2022 Parks Bond projects. We will continue to document Raleigh's community through projects with the documentarians in residence, and manage the public art projects ongoing. So here we have a slide talking about those Go Raleigh stations and the BRT projects, we've been able to work with different artists and who have overseen the vision for the individual locations along the corridors, and we're thrilled with their work. We have managed 11 artists creating artwork for those 19 Wake BRT bus stations along New Bern, and 2 artists in residence for the Southern and Western Corridor projects. Those projects involve a lot of community engagement. A lot of people are being asked how they use those bus stops, and the artists are synthesizing those ideas to create really impactful and useful and hopefully inviting new bus experiences for people. Here we can see some of the art that you might see out and around town. The new Oberlin Road tower there. Chandra Cox just finished that and installed. We have the Raleigh Stories at the Peach Road Community Center. And again, as Mary Silver mentioned, the streeteries. And so we'll have more streeteries popping up all over Raleigh, beautifully decorated by these artists. All right, any comments or questions?
Yep. Do we have questions for Ms. Silver or Ms. Lombardi or Sarah Powers? Counselor Silver.
Angela, I just had one question about temporary art. How do you distinguish permanent from temporary? And if you can give an example so the public is aware, what is the temporary art?
Sure. I'll use the example of the Seek Raleigh projects. And so those are temporary art projects that receive, a proportionally smaller budget and that have a very designated lifespan in terms of materials. Possibly they are more performance art or social practice art where people are engaging with the community for the duration of that project, as opposed to the larger capital projects. Yeah.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, we have just started looking at work plans for all these volunteer citizen committees. And what you're doing is just incredible. I mean, 24% for art and the Arts Commission. So the fact that we have dedicated volunteers doing this amount of work and just incredibly thoughtful in how you're doing it, and just love the sensitivity and work that you're doing. So I just had 2 questions. You've got a 10-year strategic plan you adopted 2016. So does that mean we're in the process of refreshing that, or is that this year, next year? And then also, you showed a number of a lot of detail in your presentation, but just, is there a map of all these public art locations across the city in pictures so that we can all sort of see some of these amazing pieces?
I'll let Sarah Powers answer that question because she is working on that. Go ahead.
So 2 questions. One about the public art plan, or Raleigh Arts Plan. Second, about the map. We are sort of wrapping up the cultural plan, having the public art strategic plan finished and starting that implementation, and all the other major planning initiatives, including a plan for Wake County, will sort of dovetail. When those are all kind of finished, that will be a great start to the next one. But most of the items are pretty much done, except for a couple scary ones. But we've got supplemental planning efforts to get those sort of thought through, facilities and things like that are a little bit more big picture. In terms of mapping and finding the public art, we have a couple things on the website. They're not perfect, but they're always going. We've just enriched all the public art pages so that you're not just going into a database, but if there's a current or recent work of art, you'll be able to see it with multiple photos of it and information about the artwork. So the things that people are kind of seeing, those big transformative projects that they're really noticing, there'll be a whole page dedicated to them. And those are going from, there's going to be a call for artists, so the artist is selected, to the project page as it's going through, connecting to public input, to also, now you're seeing it, this is what it's for. And we're working on mapping it. We have a collections management system and a GIS map too that are a little more interactive, but they don't have all the tools that we know people want to do, especially as we get oral histories and great sort of secondary or actually primary content that we'd love to share as part of those projects too. So, good.
Councilor Patton.
Question about the BRT art, and then this might you might be able to answer more broadly about all public art, but particularly I'm thinking about the BRT stations. And I love the idea of imbuing them with art, but also they need to have some informational element, like people need to understand that is a bus stop. And so they have to have some cohesion and clarity. So how do you think through approving art that also has enough cohesion and clarity for people to understand, like, these bus stops look enough alike that I understand they are all bus stops?
I'll start. Okay. I think one of the most special things that Kelly McChesney and Sarah Powers have done in planning this process for the BRT is that there is a lead artist that does serve to kind of act as the glue, the cohesion for the artists that are then selected. So that's specifically the New Bern corridor. And the main thrust of the art on that corridor is the history of Raleigh and the history of New Bern Avenue in particular. And so as you go along to each stop, you're going to see learn a little bit about the history through, say, pavement stamps or the designs on the windscreen railings, the designs on the glass. And so it is not a lot of different separate things. There are separate artists that have worked on different elements, but it is all tied together through that idea that this is a wonderful way to, as people are waiting, they're being informed about the history of Raleigh through visual arts as well. And the Western Corridor is a little bit different. There's another artist working on that who did a lot of really great community engagement. She brought chairs and I think cake out to some bus stops and sat and talked to people about their use experiences and what they might, be interested in either learning about in terms of the communities that fall along Western Boulevard. And I think the things that she really found were noise was an issue, safety is an issue. And so, looking at it through an artistic lens, but really thinking about the usability of those as bus stops as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to make a motion to approve your all's work plan, and thank you for your great work.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Great, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we are moving through the agenda. We do not have any report outs of committees, so I will go to report from the mayor and city council, and just to shake it up, we'll start with you, Councilor Silver.
Mayor, I actually think the Transportation and Transit Committee is going to meet this month.
Yep.
So the chair would need to announce the
Okay.
meeting.
All right.
But you're not going to be there at the meeting, right?
That's right. So
Okay.
Transportation and Transit Committee will meet we'll meet Thursday, February 27th from 3 to 5 here in council chambers. I myself will not be in attendance, so Councilmember Lambert Melton will chair the committee, and the topic will be the NCDOT high crash intersections and pedestrian improvements at East Whitaker Mill and Atlantic Avenue.
Then I just wanted to flag one thing. One of those topics, or maybe both, were referred to committee by Councilmember Harrison. Councilmember Harrison has expressed an interest in attending the committee meeting, and that the chair will not be present. So I was just going to make sure it's okay or request that Councilmember Harrison could actually join us at the table and just as like a substitute committee member for that month.
I defer to the city attorney. I don't know how that works. Okay.
I just want to make sure everyone that was on
Yeah.
board at the council table.
Yeah,
So.
and I appreciate the topic and Councilor Harrison's leadership on this. I know it's been a lot of public concern around some of these intersections, both vehicular and pedestrian, so thank you.
Yeah, looking forward
for
to it.
looking at
Thanks.
that. Okay. Now, we'll go to Councilor Silver.
Thank you. First, I just want to share my excitement about an item that was approved on the consent agenda, D3, for Smoky Hollow to move forward final design. Just have a request. This is a $19 million investment that is so critical to fulfill promises about having more parks in our city. So I'd like to meet with the Parks Department, again, not to change anything, but get a better understanding of the Smoky Hollow Park, in particular, all the edges, West Street, Capitol, Peace. There's a street Dorch, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, to the north. And then the Planning Department, with this huge investment, there's certainly now increased value surrounding this property, and want to understand the planning context to see how, after investing city taxpayer dollars of $19 million, we could just have a better understanding about what is the return on investment for some of the surrounding plans in the area. So if we can have just welcome a joint meeting with both the Parks Department to understand a little bit more in depth about the park design. Not that I'm going to change a thing, very excited about it, but just want to understand the edges of how the park meets the streets. And then secondly, just understanding the planning context as we look at a major addition to expanding our downtown north along Capitol Boulevard. That's it for my concerns.
Okay, you want to keep going down this way?
Yes, in keeping with tradition, some good stuff that we did through the consent agenda today. We accepted a grant from Duke Energy to provide 300 weather radios to Raleigh communities for better emergency preparedness. We authorized some property acquisitions so that we can add 14 bus shelter stops in the Go Raleigh system, including 2 on Perry Creek Road. We also authorized a bid for Spotswood Drive and Durant Nature Preserve stream restoration. We reduced speed limits on Laurelshire Drive and made line of sight adjustments on Morgause Drive in Falls River. I don't know how to pronounce that. Anyway, also I am hosting office hours this Saturday, February 8th from 10 to 12 at Bedford Food and Drink in the Bedford neighborhood. Also, happy Black History Month, everybody. A reminder that Black history is American history. And the mayor and I actually had the opportunity to attend an event honoring Will Graves, and he was a civil rights attorney who helped lay the groundwork for the historic Brown versus Board of Education decision later on. Also, congratulations to Wake Med on getting approved for 21 additional hospital beds and 2 operating rooms at Big Wake Med. Councilmember Branch and I were honored to speak in support of their funding requests. I'm going to have to keep advocating for the additional needs at Wake Med North, but that's a topic for another day. And lastly, I know these have been some busy and chaotic times, and there may be folks out there who've been feeling uneasy or unsure. And I just wanted to take my time to reiterate that I believe the rest of this council, stand resolute that the city of Raleigh is a place for all people. No matter where you came from or who you love, you deserve access to parks, clean water, good sidewalks, safe housing, transit, and all the other services that we offer. And so I will continue to do everything in my power to make sure it stays that way.
Well said. I have no report.
Just want to thank the staff for a great retreat. I don't think we've been back since y'all put that on for us. You did a phenomenal job. Thanks for the folks over at Method for hosting us. I think it gave an opportunity for folks in the community to really see one of our sort of underserved park spaces, and so it was really, really great. But I know the staff put a lot of time and work in, so I just wanted to say thank you for all of your hard work.
Great. Councilor Harrison.
Yeah, just a couple thank yous as well. I mentioned at the retreat, we had a public safety incident in District D, and it was so well handled by Raleigh Police, and I just thank you all again, particularly to Officer Gillick for his courage. And we had a vigil in the neighborhood impacted. A lot of neighbors came out. It was a wonderful time to be together. It meant a lot to me. I also want to thank the Transportation Department for allowing me to do a ride-along with the loose leaf collection team. That was a lot of fun. Whenever we're thinking about policy, it really helps to be grounded in the work. So thank you for letting me come and hang out. And I'll just follow Councilmember Patton. Happy Black History Month. I've been reading Martin Luther King's book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community? I'm going to choose community every time. Thanks.
Definitely want to thank staff for definitely a great retreat. Also, I want to recognize CASA for the grand opening of King Ridge. Thank Mayor Pro Tem Fort for the remarks that she gave at the event as well. As this past Saturday, I read a proclamation from the mayor at the Post Center for a terrific Teeth Day and making sure that our young people know the importance of a healthy teeth, because a healthy mouth leads to a healthy body, because it's all connected. And I also want to mention on because this is different. Normally I do my District C meetings, or the District C meetings on Saturdays, but for the first time we're going to have a District C meeting in the middle of the week. It's going to be February the 12th. at 6:30 p.m., and it's going to be at Sanford Road Park. So we're trying to do things a little different to reach the citizens where they are. So there would be a conversation about District C, February the 12th at 6:30 at Sanford Road Park. I look forward to all the residents coming out to have that conversation, and there'll be many more to come.
Thank you so much. I want to first mention District E's community meeting, which is on the same day and time as District C. So we'll have competing meetings, and we'll come back with. Okay. So our District E community meeting will be on February 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. at our regular place, La Cucina Italian Restaurant. The second thing I want to mention, our Decoding Democracy Book Club now has 25 members. I'm super excited about, and currently we'll be meeting at on February 15th from 9:30 to 11:30 at Oberlin Regional Library. If you're interested in learning more, to sign up, please head over to my website, which is Christina for Raleigh, and that's FOR spelled out, .com. And then lastly, I want to give just an update to the community on CACs. CACs are a big space in my heart, and we are excited to move forward. I have been speaking with the chair, Robert Rice, and we are trying to find a date that works for us so that we can continue this conversation monthly. I was present at 2 CAC meetings over this last week, and I really want to send a big thank you to our community engagement department. So Taisha Mosley, thank you so much for helping explain what the city services are, how that coincides with CACs, and how we can continue uplifting that conversation. So let's keep going. I promise you it is on the forefront of everyone's mind here. I've been talking to the mayor as well as other councilors about what we want to do moving forward, but we are very excited about what's to come for CAC. So thank you guys.
So it was 2 weeks ago today that Officer Gillick was shot, and so I'm just thinking of him, and I'm praying for his continued healing, and I know everybody here feels the same way, and we just appreciate the police for what you do. And then I just want to back up Councilor Jones on the CAC comment. I appreciate her leadership on this issue, and it is front of mind. And I know that our new Assistant City Manager, Nikki Long, who is very familiar with this community and knows many of the folks in the CACs, will be working with us on that. And Councilor Jones is the liaison, so we are making progress and know that that is something we need to continue to work on. So more to come soon on that. Okay. Next we have appointments.
Good afternoon, good early afternoon today. First off is Human Relations Commission, 1 regular vacancy. Jakarma Allen received 2 votes, and Dr. Mary Ellen Kelly received 6, so Dr. Kelly would be appointed. Human Relations Commission, 2 alternate vacancies. Helen Sporkin received 8 votes, so would be appointed. And I will bring back the 1 remaining alternate. If you would like, I can carry over the nominee under the regular category? Yeah. Okay. Raleigh Transit Authority, 1 alternate vacancy. Colin Beamer received 7 votes. However, Councilmember Lambert Melton did nominate William McKinney, so it is up to you all as to how you'd like to proceed.
I think the person who received the vote should move forward. I think I misread that as 2 vacancies. I crossed it with the Human Relations. So I will hold my nominee for the next opening because I know he has an interest in serving and he would be a great asset.
Okay. Under nominations, first is Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. 4 regular vacancies here, kind of 2 different buckets. First, Joe Caruso and Brian Thomas are both eligible for reappointment and would like to be considered. And then there's 2 members, Mary Jo Gellenbeck, who does not wish to be considered for reappointment, and Pierre Tong, who is not eligible for reappointment due to length of service. All members will continue to serve until replaced, but you do have the 2 that would like to be considered.
Move to reappoint Joe and Brian.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Passes.
All right, so I'll bring back the 2 regular vacancies for Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. Next is Design Review Commission, 1 regular vacancy. Resignation has been received from regular member Jason Dale.
Past practice has been to elevate the longest-serving alternate, which is Saravia Surya Devara, and declare an alternate vacancy. Per council direction, information was included in the agenda packet regarding her attendance.
Move to elevate Saravia.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all in favor of that motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay.
All right, so I'll bring back that alternate vacancy for the Design Review Commission. Next is Environmental Advisory Board, one regular vacancy. Term of Lamia King is expiring, and she would like to be considered for reappointment.
Move to reappoint.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Right?
Lastly, Planning Commission, two regular vacancies to announce today. As was alluded to earlier, Dean Allen Rains and Clarence Mann are expiring. Mr. Rains does not wish to be considered for reappointment, and Mr. Mann is not eligible due to length of service. Again, per city code, both members will continue to serve until replaced, and as requested earlier, staff will work to gather information from the commission and consolidate with what the chair mentioned earlier and include that on the ballot going forward for this category. There are, just a preview for the year, there are 4 additional expirations this year on Planning Commission, 2 of which are eligible for reappointment. Not sure yet, that's early, if they would like to be considered, but we do have 4 more later in the year.
Madam Mayor.
Yep.
I would like to nominate Jessica Catran. She's an architect. Had a good conversation, a good meeting, and I think her information is already in board docs.
Okay.
Or
And that's it?
Granicus.
That's it, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Pritchard? Okay. All right, next we have the report and recommendation of the city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. At your January 24th retreat, the council discussed public comment and asked the staff to come back with some proposals as it related to 3 different areas. The first was clarifying the purpose of public comment, to revise the digital media process, and to revise the public comment session held on second Tuesdays of the month. And so with that, I'll begin. As it relates to clarifying the purpose of public comment, several of you mentioned that oftentimes speakers come and they ask questions or they make comments and then they look to you for a response. And so how can we try to ensure that people understand that this is really their time to come and speak to the council? It is not an opportunity for the council to engage in debate, but simply hear from the citizens. And so as a part of that, what we discussed was adding additional information to our website that makes it clear that what the purpose of the public comment section is, and explains that it is indeed your opportunity to hear from the citizens, as well as, Mayor, when you open the public comment section, have you read a statement which again clarifies what the purpose of the public comment is. Then as it relates to revising the digital media, we had lots of discussion, or there was lots of discussion at the retreat about the digital media, concerns about some of the images and things that are displayed during public comment. And there was, so the proposal was that we would do away from displaying that digital media during the speaker's time, but certainly want to create an opportunity if there are images or things that citizens, speakers would like to share with the council, how best to do that. One option was for staff, and we would go back, if this is the interest of council, to have that media emailed to you in some type of format. If that is council's interest, then staff, based on your direction, would then work again to look at what that looks like. Certainly, I don't mean to speak for the IT director, but I know that there's always a concern about clicking on unknown links, and that is one of the ways that many times email systems and digital systems in general become corrupted is related to links. So we certainly, if that's the interest of council, would spend some more time on what that exactly would look like. The other alternative was to let speakers know that they could bring 11 copies or whatever number of copies to ensure that you all receive it, as well as the clerk, the manager, and the city attorney. Then third, as it related to the third option of looking at perhaps doing something differently on that second Tuesday, which is dedicated solely to public comment. We provided in the information that we shared ahead of this meeting and in your agenda packet, the clerk did compile a chart which reflects the time that was spent at each of those sessions. And so again, it would be up to the council as to whether you wanted to reduce that time. That time currently is set at 3 hours, but certainly council could look at whether they want to reduce that time, as well as there was some discussion about whether you would change the time from 7 o'clock to sometime earlier that evening. And so with that, Mayor.
Thank you, Attorney McDonald. For the timing, did you have a suggestion? I know I don't know how long work sessions usually go, but I know we discussed maybe 5:30, maybe 6 p.m., but I would sort of defer to staff.
We typically try to plan a work session around an hour, 30 minutes max, to give enough time in between meetings for council to get a snack, go to the bathroom, things like that. So we leave a 30-minute gap in between.
Okay. So I would think maybe 6 p.m., it sounds like would be, if we were going to change the time, maybe that would be the proposal. But, okay, well, are there questions, first off, for the city attorney from members? Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Lambert.
I had a question about the presentations. I'm in support of changing the policy to prevent things from being broadcast or displayed. I do think, though, that having visual aids at times is really helpful, and so I do want to have them be able to get to us. City Attorney mentioned possibly an email to the council before. I'm wondering if this is practical for IT. When we get the voicemail public comments, those are collected externally, and then before the meeting, they're uploaded to the agenda. And so if anyone wanted to read the voicemail public comments, us or anyone who's accessing the agenda online could pull them up. You mentioned issues with links and contaminating the software. Currently, we accept the presentations somehow through IT, and then they pull them up in here. Would it be feasible to just continue to accept them in a similar way, but then just attach them to the agenda under public comments, the material that we receive? Because then when we're sitting here, we could pull them up, and anyone at home could pull them up, but if they choose, but it's not being broadcast in the same way. Is that a possibility?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Yes, that's definitely a possibility. The other thing we've looked at is the format that these come into. We know that email is like the #1 attack vector, but we also have tools in place to protect us. But we want to make sure that there's also a human that's like going through and vetting through that material before we distribute it to council.
Yeah, so I mean, I would propose that we accept it, you vet it, and then it's attached to the agenda before the meeting. And so it could, we have a list of speakers, and if they submit material, then the agenda could just say, Speaker 15 presentation, whoever wants to pull it up at home or at the table. I think that's going to be easier than us managing emails coming in. And for folks at home who may want to access the picture or whatever is being submitted, that may be helpful too. But I think it eliminates the broadcast element, and certainly if it were a sensitive topic, someone at home who doesn't want to see it would not click it, but people who do can. And so I think it provides maybe a middle ground.
If I could, I like the idea, and my question is kind of for staff. Having it on our servers, because right now it's kind of on that one laptop that's kind of connected to the network, and you can do it, but once you email it, or put it in the agenda. It's now within the server, kind of within the system. You have the wherewithal from a technology standpoint, one, to filter if there are any viruses, but two, we have the memory, the storage, at not a high cost because we could have 30 people sign up, all 30, well, let's say half, 15 of them could have presentations, or even 10, depending on how long a video is and how they sent it over to you. Do we have the skill, the technology? No, we have the skills, the people, but do we have the technology in place for it?
Sure, that's a great question. So the way our system works is that it only stores one copy of the video, and then as we distribute it over email, it actually creates a link in the background to that single place in storage. And so it's not like we're replicating it multiple times, so I really don't have a concern about the storage. Really the concern is the first click, the first person that clicks on that object to bring it into our infrastructure. That's where the security concern comes in.
Okay.
So if I could just interject, some of the things we talked about as well would be what format that's in, whether it's a PDF, whether it's a JPEG, if it's a video, then the size of that video, those type of things. So if that's the interest of council, those would be the things that Mark and I, along with the rest of the staff, would work to try to work out and make sure that the rules, submission rules, are clear. Because as Councilmember Branch just mentioned, someone wants to send you a 20-minute movie. That's probably a little extreme, but my point is how many, the size of that and those type of things.
Can I interject as a follow-up?
Yeah, we'll
I just
do a
want to
follow-up.
clarify. I envisioned it being PDF or JPEG, and then could be attached to the agenda material.
Okay. All right, Councilor Silver and then Councilor Patton.
I had concerns around the similar issue about just security. Took about an hour session yesterday on all sorts of phishing, and so I understand the concern. So I had a couple of questions. One, would this be part of public record that has to be stored forever? It's a public comment, but just wanted to know in terms of just long-term storage. I'm sure we could limit it by size, because that's not uncommon, but now because of public comment, if it's part of a public record, one, how long do you have to store it? My second question is on just the acknowledgement that someone understands that there is no back and forth exchange. And I guess this is for the IT director. Very often you fill out a form and there's a box you have to check to acknowledge you've read it before you can actually submit. Is that possible? I like the fact that the mayor will disclose it because not everyone in the audience or watching may know that there is no exchange between the speaker and council. So the first question is, could there be kind of a forced, I agree, before it can officially be submitted? And again, just want to find out if there is this part along with their comment, is that part of the public record that has to be saved and stored for whatever period of time the law allows?
So the first question about the check mark as far as a consent, yes, that's certainly something that we could look into. And as far as the public record, I think I would defer to the city attorney as far as the public record itself.
Yes, it would be. No different than people who come and speak now.
And there is already a disclaimer on the box when you submit for public comment that you have read the rules of decorum. That's already on the website.
So we did too. Yeah.
Councilor Patton.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm supportive of the first part where we clarify the purpose of public comment, giving both more information and clarity at the time of the sign up and then at the time of the meeting. I am sensitive. I've been vacillating on the digital media component of this discussion. I am sensitive to the idea that we're governed by FCC regulations and that we stream these meetings on Channel 12 and on YouTube and on WebEx. WebEx? Is that one of them?
Granicus.
So, and that each of those have different rules and that creates these complications and compliance issues. And so I do, however, also think that the things that are displayed, while sometimes sensitive, often are both valuable for us and the members of the public and the audience who would be watching. And so I would like staff to explore opportunities to come up with some middle ground, perhaps like Councilmember Lambert Melton has suggested, that whether it's like a flat image and perhaps not videos, but JPEGs and photos can be compiled into a single PDF that might be available in the backup or something like that. So I could support that or whatever permutation of something like that that is appropriate. As far as limiting the time, I still cannot support that, based on the chart that is provided to us. Since when we made the changes about a year ago, almost to the day, we've seen a precipitous drop-off in the amount of time that has been allocated, the number of speakers, and so it seems to me like the thoughtful changes we put in place a year ago have had their intended outcome, and so I would prefer to leave things as they are right now.
Do you have an opinion on the change time of the meeting?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that one too. I could probably support an earlier time if we did not curtail the total time. We know that we have speakers who are arriving as early as they can from their previous engagement, their work or whatever. And so if we were going to move it forward, I wouldn't want us to move it forward and also shorten it, because we certainly would, I think, then at that point be closing some doors. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ford.
Yeah, excuse me, getting back to the issue about the limitations on time. Again, I would like to see us kind of come into alignment with our peer and other cities and communities. To be quite frank and transparent, certain issues don't really have, we're not really in a position to weigh in or make decisions about certain issues that folks will want to bring and present to us. I think what we ended up seeing is that a lot of folks would come because we did have so much time. You did not see that really happening in other jurisdictions because there were limitations on what people were able to go and come in and do. And so limiting the amount of time and bringing us into alignment with other communities, I think, would be better for folks who've got pertinent issues that they want to raise that we actually could take action on or actually do something about. So I would like to see some recommendation from the city attorney's office about a time limitation and kind of bringing it into alignment with our other peer communities.
Councilor Silver.
Let me go to all three. I too agree with the disclaimers up front, both on the website and by the mayor, is certainly appropriate. I am struggling with the digital media. I'm willing to accept a size limitation and limit it to PDF and JPEG. And so I am concerned, one, about storing it whatever the law allows for a public record. So that is something I certainly want to, and I don't know what the appropriate size is. And not to suggest that they can also offer paper copies if they so choose. So one is that I believe that we should have that uploaded and at the discretion of both the public and the council to see it. On the last one, I think an appropriate maybe 2 hours. We did have a full analysis of all the jurisdictions, and I think that Raleigh was on the liberal and generous side of public comment, but looking at the trend, I think there were only a few meetings that went in excess of 2 hours, but everything was below, so I think that would be appropriate. And having said that, starting at 6 o'clock, which means from 6 to 8 on the extreme end, that's if the time is filled up. That's what I'd put on the table as a suggestion.
Okay, yep. Councilor Jones.
Just going through how I feel about the four, I have them four. I'm in support of clarifying the purpose of public comment for doing both option 1 and 2. Since we are already doing option 1, adding it to as the mayor mentioning at the beginning, I can support. The rest of it, I cannot. I am opposed to revising our digital media process. I hear the concerns, but I'm still in opposition to it. Revising public comment section, that. Is there a possibility for us to see this chart, to show the chart so the public can see that on T1? Are we able to bring that image up onto the screen, Luke?
You're talking about the chart that shows what other municipalities do in the way of
Yeah, because it's
public
already
comment.
it's already in board docs. So I'm just wondering if we can look at it. Kind of echoing what Councilor Patton referenced, over about a year ago to the day is when we made those changes, and we've seen that dramatic change with the most signups being on October 8th with 39 signups. So I continue to insist that reducing the available time allowed for public comment will prove nothing. The work we did last year has seen the desired outcome, and anything further is unwarranted. And then in terms of the fourth one, we have people coming in late to every session, and the mayor has had to go back to the beginning of the list just to ensure that everyone who is signed up has had the opportunity to speak. In addition to, thank you so much. Here's this chart. So if we look at February 13th, we have the first three, so the January 9th, the 16th, that was prior to our council retreat, and that's when we had those really big signups. And then after this February 13th, you can see as we go down, the list dramatically decreases. And you had a small bump on October 8th, but everything coming down to December 3rd has gone to 7. So anything reducing that time is, it just feels not fair to me. And then just winding up my last comments on that, if we're every meeting having to go back to the beginning of the list, that tells me that people, if we made it earlier, it might give them the people who are already signing up, it might give them another impediment to having to come here earlier. So I would be in opposition to those three. The only thing that I would have support for would be clarifying the purpose of public comment.
Thank you.
So I think the sign up, Mark, that you understand the rules is key. From the video aspect, being in IT, I lean on the fact that we have to be good stewards of our technology, make sure it's safe, but also we have to realize the FCC has rules, and that we already have received some letters previously about some of the imagery that has been shown. So, excuse me. So for me, I'm good if we find another method. I want us to find another method in which the council can receive the information, but I still have to be good stewards of the overall. I would be good with 2 hours. We speak until the last person present speaks. We know things do come up. But I was also one of the ones that stated that I wish we went back to the first meeting, which started at 7, and we could do it. So that would have started it at 7. We wouldn't be having the issue about what to do on this second Tuesday. So I just wanted to make sure I'm consistent in making the point there.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen, for bringing back some of this information to us. On my side of things, I can understand the need or desire perhaps to remove imagery, still making sure, though, that it gets to us. So if folks are, providing information with PowerPoints, that we can get that kind of information, but in a PDF file. I recognize that some images can be challenging to see. But at the same time, we are here to listen, and I want to ensure that everybody who wants to come and talk to us about good, bad, or ugly going on has that opportunity. So that's where I am not in favor of limiting the time. I think we've already done a good job at, figuring out how many minutes, given the number of signups, and it's been pretty calm. So I don't want to change that. I'm open to a change in the start time if 6 p.m. is better. But I'd also like to hear from the public, and I know we're going to have public comment next Tuesday, so that might be a good opportunity to hear from everyone. We've been getting a lot of emails about this topic, and I appreciate that folks are reaching out.
Yep. Councilor Lambert Melton.
I was going to start making some motions.
Okay. Well, and I will just say, in terms of this topic, I heard a lot about this during the entire campaign, including after, y'all made reforms, and I recognize you spent a lot of time on it. I think it still has challenges, and the digital media is the most concerning to me. I said I've had a good friend who's a therapist, and she said, just it's horrendous to be broadcasting stuff that is so potentially violent and disturbing to unsuspecting people, on a public broadcast. And so that's the thing I have the strongest, and I think that has also driven some people away from City Hall. They do not feel like they can come down here, bring their children, engage youth in the city because of some of this imagery and some of the behavior in City Hall. So I think you could say it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think it is still somewhat broken, and that is a widespread feedback that I got during the campaign. So I think that's why we're talking about this. And I understand there will be a lot of different opinions. I can say, having served on this council 20 years ago, a lot of things have changed. You've added a lot of time, added a lot of citizen committees. The one thing I can say for certain, I think everybody on this committee is an active counselor. We listen now in so many more channels than we used to, right? I mean, the social media, the hearings. I feel like this city is extremely open to public feedback and will continue to be. And these trying to sort of work through what is the best thing that serves all the citizens of Raleigh is part of what we're trying to do here. So with that, Councilor Lambert Melton, if you have a proposal, and I don't know whether you want to take these things separately or together.
I was going to take them in turn. I'm going to try to use my mediator skills to bring us to consensus. I'm also happy to let the mayor make any motions if that's what you were intended to do, but I'm happy to take a stab at it. So for the first part, the clarifying the purpose of public comment, that seems very straightforward. So I would just move to accept the city attorney's proposal for both of those options.
Second. Yep, second, Councilor Silver. Any other discussion on that one? Sounds like, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay.
On the second part about revising our digital media process, I would move that we implement a new process that would allow for folks to submit PDFs, which could include, PowerPoint presentations. You can download those as PDFs, and pictures, so JPEG, that would be accepted through our city departments and then uploaded with the agenda as backup material so that we could look at them during the public comments and the public can also look at them during the public comments.
We have firmly amendment that there would be a size limitation established.
Sure, whatever size limitation that our IT staff believes would be appropriate. I would just add that the intent is to allow folks to upload sort of, static visual aids that could be supplemental to their comments. So that would be that motion.
Second.
Any other discussion on that one?
Just a question, if I may. Are you asking staff and communications, and I saw Robin get up a few minutes ago, to vet to determine what is appropriate to attach or not? Because that's an issue.
No, I mean, I don't think we can vet content.
That's right.
But just like if it's a virus, don't attach it. But like, I don't think this is going to be much different than what we currently do now because it comes here to this device and then gets broadcast. So instead of broadcasting, it would just come in and then be attached to the agenda, right?
A little different, but we just needed clarification as to what staff's role in this process is.
Do not attach anything that is going to be malware, but it has to be content neutral, correct, City Attorney? Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. Thank you for the clarifying question. Any other questions or discussion?
Well, before we move on, Robin, did you have something you wanted to say? Okay, I was making sure.
She said, keep me out of this.
Okay, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Right. Okay, so that sounds like a 7-1 vote on that one. Okay, next was the time.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of bounced around on this one. I hear Councilmember Fort saying we need to be more in line with what other cities do. Quite frankly, if we try to be more in line with what other cities do, we would be going down to like 30 minutes, and I don't think there's any appetite for that. I've heard some folks say that 2 hours at 6. I would support that. I think that's a good middle ground. One thing about that chart is I do agree that if you look at the data, we have not gone longer than 2 hours except for one anomaly. And so it would seem that if we did 2 hours from 6 to 8, still provides evening opportunity for folks who maybe need to get here after work. Honestly, I think it may be a little more flexible so folks could come after work and then get home rather than having to wait around until 7. And the 2 hours would comfortably fit all of the public comment that we did for calendar year 24, except the one on January 16th, which I think that was a rarity. So I would move for public comment beginning on that evening Tuesday at 6 p.m. For 2 hours.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion on that one?
Yeah, I just want to add again, I really do think we should hear from the public before we move on this one.
You're talking about changing the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to second that. I think that it's kind of insane that we're changing it before we've heard directly from the public.
Yeah, I would echo a desire to table this part of it for a couple weeks. There's a handful of options. There's shorten it and move it earlier. We could just shorten. We could just move it earlier, or we could remain the same, right? And there has not been an opportunity for the public to weigh in on this since we saw it. So it would be my preference to table that component until our next meeting.
Okay. Councilor Silver?
I don't know if you accept a friendly amendment that we proceed with the 2 hours, but in terms of the start time, we defer that until we hear more from the public. I know I've received maybe about 20, 30 emails, and, so I know I'm getting a sense of what I'm going to hear. We're going to hear some, variations of for and against, but if it helps the conversation move forward, I just recommend we just move on to 2 hours as the schedule, and then if there's more public comment about the start time, 6 o'clock, I'd be comfortable with that amendment if you would accept it.
I'm fine with whatever. I think if we're going to wait, then we should just wait on this entire.
I think the data shows with the 2 hours, right, that will accommodate,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my concern is and I don't want to be snippy, but I've personally been on 2 or 3 phone calls with members of the public. We've all received emails. I mean, we could performatively wait until the next public comment. I don't think we're going to get consensus. One member of the public may say start at 9 p.m., one may say start at 5, one may say start at 6. I just want to put this to bed. And so I would be fine voting today on 6 for 2 hours. If that's not the consensus, then that's fine. I do agree the data supports 2 hours, so we could table part of it or not. I do not think we're going to have any more illuminating information if we hold this. That is just my thought on it, though.
And let me, after hearing that, I'll remove my amendment.
Okay. So any more discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. So we have 4 against.
Well,
3.
4, yeah. Council.
Agreement with 2 hours, so I can't support the motion.
You what?
I'm not in agreement with 2 hours, so I cannot vote for that.
Okay.
Mike.
Oh, sorry.
What hour limit are you?
I would be in agreement for like an hour, so.
Well.
Okay, Mayor, so just so we're clear, the motion on the floor was for 6 p.m. and 2 hours.
Correct.
And that motion did not pass.
Right.
Because it was 4-4.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the debate. And it sounds like we will not bring back, I'll defer to Mayor Pro Tem Ford. Are you interested in bringing this back for further conversation around time, or you just feel like this was not aggressive enough and therefore?
I don't know that my opinion is necessary. Sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking to y'all. I forget y'all out here. I'm sorry. I don't know that my opinion is necessarily going to change. I do know that other council members think it may be beneficial to have more dialogue. So if folks want to bring it back, but the dialogue may not necessarily sway my vote. So.
One thing we could do is, I'm not opposed to getting more feedback. I'm not sure that waiting to the next public comment session is really going to give the type of feedback that anyone may need to feel comfortable. We could put a survey out about start time or something, or maybe we already have that data. I don't know. But I just feel like we need to provide clarity and stability, and I don't want to continue to debate about what time will it start, how long will it go. I feel like we need to just make a decision. I do think data supports 2 hours. That seems like a compromise, but we may not get to 5 votes on making that change. And then the start time, same thing. I
do think we did, last time we had this discussion, we ran a survey. Am I right about that?
There was a questionnaire that people filled out some years ago prior to, I think, you all coming on board. And at that time, we got lots of concerns from folks who worked, who felt like 5:30 was a better chance. And at 7 o'clock, they were not coming, they weren't going home, getting their kids and taking care of what they need to take care of home, and then coming back to a meeting. So the data was about 50-50 with the younger folks, which at that point, we were trying to get more people engaged in the process. They were like, we may come right after work, but we're not going home and coming back because of daycare and all of the other things.
Well, Mayor?
Yep.
Well, since the two combined failed, let me offer a motion that the time be changed from start time of 7 p.m. till 6 p.m., which means the status quo would be that the maximum would be from 6 to 9 o'clock.
Second.
Okay, and then I'm just trying to understand, Mayor Pro Tem Fort, so you wanted to go to 3 to 1 hour? Correct. Okay, and so you don't want to just reduce to 2? You don't feel like that's enough to vote for that? No, I mean, so.
Well, the status quo right now is 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's, right.
So some reduction, but it's anyway, so.
We could do it in two parts. I second.
Like, I don't have a strong feeling about the start time, and I do think that should be, if you had a survey, I don't know whether we have that information, we could make this decision based off of data. I mean, I felt like the 2 hours was based off of data. The start time, I haven't seen that data, so it's harder for me, and I don't have strong opinions. I think we're all just trying to be helpful to the public on what is the best time for them. So.
Yeah, so I could agree with an earlier start time.
Okay.
If you want to break it up, bifurcate it, and not have two motions, so.
That was a motion.
Well, and I'll just add that if we did the earlier start time, if we've been going traditionally an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, if we keep it at 3 and we still finish after an hour and a half or 2 hours, it's the same outcome. So if we just adjust the start time, we may just be able to leave the duration alone, and whether we get it out or not. I do agree to one point that Mayor Pro Tem brought up, was that perhaps the wide amount of flexibility we have provided is cultivating an environment that is causing some of these anomalies, whereas other jurisdictions are not having that cultivation because their rules are a little tighter. And so that's a perspective that I actually had not really appreciated before, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
And so if I can add, we have Taishla Mosley here, who can speak to the data from when we canvassed the community around what were best start times or what worked best.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Taisha Mosley with the Community Engagement Department. And so it looks like we brought this item back in May of 2023, and we did a couple of things. We had a conversation in January of that year at your retreat. The Community Engagement Board was involved in this discussion, so they did some work around public comment and put out a survey about in March. And then there was a second poll that went out in May of 2023. So just really quickly, one of the questions on that poll was what time works for maximizing participation during public comment. The survey gave the option for 6 p.m. and for 7 p.m. The majority of your respondents said 7 p.m., but it was a survey that was open from May 12th to May 28th. There were about 300 participants, and again, that survey was the only form of engagement for it. There was some different information about demographics that we collected, and so at that time, we gave some different options, which got you all to the format that you have now.
What was the percentage? I know you said they chose, but do you have the percentages?
There were 73% of respondents that preferred 7 p.m. and 27% of respondents that preferred 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Taisha, will you say the date of that survey again? I'm sorry, the year specifically.
April of 2023 was the second poll. There was also one in March of 2023, and I can pull the I just need to go find the data from that one. So we did 2 polls on this particular topic in 2023.
I mean, based on that, I would say we just leave it at 7 p.m. because that was the preferred time, and then we're also not confusing by, changing. All right. So
It was a fun exercise.
Yes.
I will withdraw the motion.
Okay. All right. So I think, City Attorney, unless you, or anything else, we have concluded that conversation. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have the report and recommendation of the city clerk.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. 2 items today. First one is a follow-up from your discussion at the last meeting, and it would be appropriate at this time to designate the alternate members for 2 external agencies, the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization and the Central Pines Regional Council.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay.
And the second item in your agenda materials were some minutes packages from previous minutes. It would be appropriate to adopt those.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, so that passes. Thank you. All right, so we now have a motion to go into closed session. Is in order pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the city attorney in order to preserve attorney-client privilege and to consider giving instructions regarding the handling and/or settlement of a potential claim in the following matters: City of Raleigh versus Clark Brothers LLC, the City of Raleigh versus Mary J. Rogers, and the City of Raleigh versus Carolina Realty.
So moved. Second.
Right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so we are now in closed session. direction to staff on the items listed in the closed session motion. Council will reconvene at 7 p.m.